Next question we will have first answer. Ask Communication Commissioner, how do you propose to increase the profile of CSA services?
Okay. I actually responded to that in my opening, but I'll repeat it. What I want to do is I want to take a grassroots approach and go to the club level and attend club meetings and actually empower those students. I'd also like to hold an event every semester where it's a night of leaders. Basically, I'll get speakers who have different leadership positions, and I want them to empower students and teach them how satisfying it would be to get involved with their student government. Once again, I will advertise in the Ontario, and I will try to work with the Student Executive Council and see if they'd be interested in reaching out to their own electorate. Classroom speaking is also key.
Tucker?
As mentioned before, I was thinking of doing a newsletter. I've already checked with our finance office. It is possible to do. So we can highlight service as well as ads in the Ontarian, the Peak, the Canon, centralized events page, because most of our services do provide events, and outreach not only to the clubs, but to the colleges, the special status groups, give them posters and make them feel that reflects needs, but not only that, take back their feedback to what's prohibiting them from participating in that service. Perhaps our environment isn't welcoming enough or accessible, and making sure those changes happening along with the staff of that particular service, so that it reflects the needs of those students.
I think the best way is to have to bridge the gap between student interest and the services that are provided. For example, we'll take the legal resource room. Very few people know about it, as Rohan was mentioning, and people only find out about it when they have a legal issue. What needs to be done is the CSA needs to sort of get in there and find out what people's interests are. And once they find out what the interests are, direct them to the services that best suit their needs. And by doing this, you engage the students, you empower them to get involved, and ultimately you increase the profile of the CSA services.
Next question will be Tucker first to answer. How do you plan to get people to actually come to an AGM?
That's been the million-dollar question for as long as I've been at this university. Some ideas I do have, though, is that if students are aware of the issues ahead of time, it might actually seem more appealing to come to an AGM, firstly. So I often find students feel disconnected to the changes that are going on, so hopefully by getting them more engaged prior to the AGM, and making sure those items are basically towards the end of the agenda. Also, often we offer prizes or gifts for attendance, but have those available as you leave the AGM instead of the entry, because I've found in the past from attending, people often come in and grab their food or their prize and walk out, so making it that you can leave if you stay for the set time. If we go over, that's our own responsibility. Give us motivation to finish on time for once.
Jack Rotman?
I can draw upon my experience as being an RA and a researcher for this question. As an RA, it's difficult sometimes to get students to come out for events like this, and the best way to do this is to engage the students and empower them. You really want, and it can't just be done during the year, right before the AGM, but you have to, during the year, get students involved and let them understand why the issues are important. The second is, similar to what Tucker was saying, is the benefits. Free pizza and t-shirts aren't enough. Sure, it can get them to come and stay for maybe 20 minutes, but you need somebody to keep them there. And there's ways to do it. You can get people, give out a $100 Visa gift card for one person at the end, and that'll get people to stay. And lastly, if you can grab a whole bunch of people, like an incentive to a certain club for getting a percentage out, you can grab people's interest that way.
Rohan?
Okay, to get people to the AGM, this year we did Facebook, and I think that was one thing that I would continue with. The day before, I'd send out another message to all the group members. That's one thing. I also think we did classroom speaking, and I'd like to continue with that, but also enrich it and really try to push some of the board directors to really speak to more classes, as well as go to the colleges and the Student Executive Council and ask them to also speak to their classes, as well as clubs. Another thing, students can have a lot of incentives to come. There can be pizza, there can be treats, but if they don't feel that they can relate to these issues, they're not going to come, or they're not going to stay. So I think that increasing the visibility of the CSA is very important, so that they know they are aware of the issues. They're not just seeing an agenda, which doesn't really relate to many people if they haven't seen one before. As well as we have forums to discuss these issues, so students are more aware of them.
We will now go right into the audience question. First one will be Jack Bauman to answer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Horgan, and I'm the current Communications Commissioner. So I have a question for all the candidates. What is your favorite CSA policy, and why is it your favorite? And also, what CSA policy are you most interested in changing, and why?
That's a good question. I think my favorite policy, I guess, especially for the Communications Commissioner, is really the ability to sort of, to get to be the visible, to promote the awareness of the CSA events. I think this campus, as I was saying, it's a very active campus, but it can always do more. There's some things that people are apathetic about, and I think we need to really promote that stuff and get people out.
Rohan.
Okay, my favorite policy is our strong commitment to anti-oppression. I think that's extremely important, that we always try to be an anti-oppressive campus. And there's anti-oppression trainings, and the board is aware of that. And I think that has to be pushed. There's more of that as well. The one that I'd like to change is a little bit more particular. It's to do with grievance committees. I feel that with grievance committees, the staff is representing, but not the executive, and I think that should be changed. The executive also has representation.
Tucker?
For myself, my favorite policy, I gotta admit, it's a big chunk of Appendix F, is the students' declarations, not only for general student rights, but also for a lot of minority groups as well, because not only does it have the anti-oppressive stuff in there, it also suggests a lot of other things and the work we can be doing in helping to facilitate that, and I think they're a really good read. Check them out. The one I'm not a huge fan of, actually somewhat referring back to Rohan, does have to do with basically the human resources and the grievance policy, but for a different reason, because I find while we do have the grievance committees, there's not much teeth necessarily to the action. Basically, you can have a grievance, there's a letter, or you have to go to the board and get the person impeached, and I think we really need to find an intermediate measure between those two extremes.
Rohan Mata will be the first one to answer the next question.
Good afternoon. Dave Heppenstall, undergraduate student senator for Bachelor of Computing. My question for the candidates are, how will you improve the general feeling of that the CSA is irrelevant to the majority of the student body? The question is not how will you improve its relevance, how will you improve the appearance of its relevance? Thank you.
My understanding of that question is that how will we make the CSA looked better upon, or people will perceive it as a more positive, in a positive light, or?
The clarification of the question is, how will you make the general student population more aware that the CSA actually is relevant to them?
It's a good question, and I think that how we make them more aware, well, I mean, visibility is one, but I mean, if they're visible of what we're doing, that doesn't necessarily, and what we're doing nothing that pertains to them, that's not going to help. So we have to increase visibility, but also make sure that we're always relevant in dealing with current issues. I would like to have an open door policy, so students feel comfortable to come in, tell me the issues now, and I can take to the board and direct them where to go. Because sometimes we don't deal with what's currently happening on campus.
Tucker Gordon?
To answer how it would make the CSA appear or be more relevant and make students feel that way, I personally find that in my time with the CSA, oftentimes we're telling students what we're doing, but really all the CSA is, in my personal opinion, it's the amalgamations of the colleges and the groups, and really we should be getting our directive from the students, and if we do more feedback and outreach that way, not only will students feel engaged and empowered, but we will ensure that we are representing them and that we are relevant, and that will make us appear relevant.
Jeff Rotman?
Ultimately, I believe it's really about bridging the gap between what the students are already interested in and what the CSA provides. For example, issues like human rights, accessibility, academic issues are all things that concern students, but I don't think they realize that the CSA really is involved in these kind of issues. And you really have to go in there, talk to them, engage with them, talk to them, find out what their concerns are, find out if anything's happened to them that the CSA is responsible for, and find out whether or not we can help them as CSA members. And if you can do that and show them that, yeah, okay, the CSA is relevant, we support the students, we are your voice, we will help you, that's how you make it more relevant.